Well, hello there, good morning. So, you can see some absolutely lovely seed packets in front of me here with some lovely seeds in. So there we go, you've worked out what the video is going to be today. We're going to have a look at some of the things that I'm hoping to be growing this year, although not all. There will be many other things as well, as many of you have come to expect from me, but quite excited about it really. I was having a look through some of the old seed packets I've got, and I've really got a lot now, and I thought, yeah, let's have a look and let's consolidate a little bit and just have a little bit of a chat about some lovely exciting seeds. So there we go. Now, let's have a look at what I indeed have here. I'm just going to sort out the light. There we go. That's better, isn't it? So you can actually see what I've got. Now, take a look. I'm just going to pan the camera across here, but don't they look cool? Such a collection here. Now, let's start with some of this. Now, this looks just amazing, doesn't it? Now, this is water spinach. This is sweet basil, Thai basil, sweet. Here we have Malabar spinach. That's the Indian name. Sounds cool, doesn't it? Holly basil, Thai basil, spicy. China wax gourds, bitter melons. We'll go this way. Beetroot, variety bolt hardy. Radish ping pong, melons. No, more melons, look, more melons. Courgettes and squashes, ornamental gourds. We got leaf beet chard, perpetual spinach, Ford hook giant chard, komatsuna Japanese green. We go over to here, Manchester table carrot, and some more radishes. Okay, so I'm going to be growing a collection of exotic things and also some good tried and tested stuff here, because I'd like to have a very productive garden this year, but I also want to be growing, different things as well, just for, a lot of it's a lot of interest for me, and a lot of people out there find it interesting as well. And I think with regards to, things going on and all that, I'm not going to mention it on this channel, it's good to, start planning for growing things that can maybe, tolerate warmer climates. And I think that's quite a good thing that we could start, in fact, getting into. So, now, these are very much sort of an excitement thing. This one here, the water spinach. Now, this must be so much fun growing these. Now, the China wax gourd. So I've read that they like a long growing season, so I'm going to be getting them in relatively earlier. Now, I know in the case of squashes and gourds, they don't like temperatures too low. So if you're in an area where, your spring, your summer, whatever is late, something like courgettes or whatever, they'll keep growing, whereas something like gourds and squashes may stop when it gets below, a certain temperature. Of course, if it goes below a complete certain temperature, everything will stop growing and it could indeed kill it. But if you're in an area such as the southeast, you could do well with gourds and squashes here, because generally we tend to get some of the more favourable weather here in the UK, although that's not always entirely true. Now, here we've got, so the bitter melons. Now, I have grown these with success in the past, okay? If you check out my channel, you'll see quite a few videos of me growing these. And so I know I can recommend, if you can get these to germinate, if you can give the right microclimate, so for example, growing within a polytunnel or a greenhouse, south-facing wall, with a miniature greenhouse over the top, you could indeed do well with these. Now, a bit of advice. Now, they can be very, very stubborn to germinate, okay? So a very good thing to do in that regard could be to do what I've done and bought some from a selection of sources, okay? So if you do that, then, you're more likely to get germination, but they can be stubborn, so don't be disappointed if they don't germinate, because that can be parcel of growing these. Okay, now beetroot, bolt hardy, well, very tried and tested, particularly this variety, bolt hardy. I love beetroot soup, very good for you, very tasty, and I really do enjoy growing, very tried and tested crop here in the UK. Radish ping pong, Royal Horticultural Society, hang on. Easy, eye-catching, and tasty roots. Now, melons. Right. A word on melons. So once again, I have grown melons, watermelons, with success here in the UK. Okay, haven't done it for a few years now. If you check out the playlist, you can see watermelons that I've grown here in the UK. Now, they're not that anything is guaranteed, but they're not, they're not the most reliable crop to be growing here in the UK. Okay, they like warmer weather, as one would expect, and like last year, for instance, the summer was quite late. The year before would have been brilliant if everything could have been satisfied, but you've got to be aware that they like, a lot of them, they like a greenhouse, polytunnel. They like a nice microclimate with a nice bit of, maybe something to attract some heat to keep the soil nice and warm. So check out my playlist if you're interested in growing melons. That will apply to bitter melons as well, but it can be done, and I hope to duplicate my success this year. But if you're limited on space or whatever, they might not be the best thing to grow if you want to sort of bang for your buck and a good effort to reward ratio of whatever crop you're going to sow. For instance, if in that space where you're going to grow melons, think of the amount of courgettes you could probably get instead with far less effort. Okay, but I'm not dissuading anyone from growing them. If you really want to have a go at it, it can be done. Okay, but I spoke a lot about effort to reward ratio before, and putting in effort to get good crops. Depends what you're into this for, really. If you love just growing stuff just to have a good go, then maybe, but if you're up for good food production or something like that, be aware, tried and tested stuff can be better in terms of yield and effort put towards it. Okay, so there we go. Now we'll look at the varieties of melon. So I've got sweet granite early melon, petit gris de raw melon, 5 desserts large early melon, Eden's gem melon, blacktail mountain, and Pepin verde. So what I'm going to be doing is running a melon project this year, but it's going to be quite specific the way I'm going to be doing it, spending quite a bit of time on organising it and everything, getting it right, getting it as close to perfect as I can get it with the time that I can dedicate to doing it. So you may be interested in sort of staying tuned for that, because I think if I could get a good melon crop, it would be very satisfying indeed. So there is that. What else have we got? We've got Verde di Milano dwarf bush courgettes. Once again, I spoke about growing courgettes and marrows. They're more tolerant of unfavourable cooler weather than say something like gourds or squashes. Okay, so there we go. Benning's green tint scallop patty pan squash. You've seen them. I grew them last year. They look like really cool flying saucers, and the plants are actually very productive for the space that they take up. As long as you keep picking them when they're about that sort of size, you can get some very tasty squashes off of that. Now this one here, ornamental gourds. Okay, now these are allegedly not for, here you go, fruits are unfit for consumption. There you go. I don't quite know what that means, whether they're poisonous or whether they just taste horrible, but I'm going to be growing those just as like ornaments for the garden, really, looking really nice, and maybe drying them, so that'd be quite cool. And what else have we got? So this stuff here, leaf beet chard, great thing to grow, very reliable. Slugs don't seem to like it, and it's prolific. Perpetual, you just keep picking it and it comes again. Forward hook giant chard, so we've got leaf beet chard or perpetual spinach. We've got forward hook giant chard, komatsuna Japanese green. These are great. Now I've got them growing down here, as you can see, of course, so the low light levels and the colder temperatures at this time of year, it's not growing particularly fast as one would expect, but in the spring I'm expecting it to spring into sort of a growth and do really well. And one thing is I've noticed that the slugs don't and the snails don't seem to want it too much, so what a great thing to grow, and it's cold tolerant. It's said to not like the weather too hot, it could bolt. But, for a cold-tolerant crop, one would expect that anyway. What else have we got? So we've got Manchester table carrot. Once again, an old English variety. Pretty cool. You can see I've got some growing away down there, ready for the weather to warm up in the spring. So they'll grow on. And some more radish. They just look cool, don't they? Nice colour, looking pretty nice. February as well. They can be sown in February. So, yeah, there we go. Right, so there we go. So that's a few things I'm going to be growing. There is going to be much, much more. Okay. I'm holding fire at the moment. Tracy commented, about my whether I've ordered any more, whatever's to do to my plant addiction. And one can say it's quite easy, isn't it, to go down the garden centre or down the old whatever and go on the internet and just start buying stuff willy-nilly. I've ended up with 35 blueberry plants, but they're really cool. But yeah, so all being well, just going to keep expanding here. A fig tree will be coming eventually. I'm going to be ordering a new fig tree, one that crops twice a year. That's one thing I've really got to get into growing more, is figs. And I am going to be getting another mango tree, and I put a post up on Instagram, and one of my what do they call them on Instagram? Well, viewers, whatever. Thank you. I'm going to I mentioned I'm going to getting into some lights as well, growing things using light. So yeah, just got so much I want to do. The weather is really, really good for this time of year. It's too good. Very easy to get into a false sense of security. I'm expecting the winter to come soon because everything in this polytunnel is just so advanced. I'll show you just how advanced we're at. Look. Look. You see them buds, look, growing away, look, swelling. Trying to get this into focus, so there you go. See them buds, look how sort of swollen up they are. I mean, it's like they're ready to burst. I mean, peaches and nectarines do tend to blossom early in the season anyway, under normal circumstances. But even so, they do seem so advanced in here. And the Dixie Red as well is, not far behind. So the pomegranate, show you the buds. See, they're starting to swell. One of the Sharon fruit, persimmons, is starting to, swell, as is this one. Crazy stuff. The tea plant's doing well down here. I've probably been overwatering in it, and this could be to, account for these brown leaves. That's my fault. Sometimes I tend to get a bit overzealous. I read that they like they like damp climates, so I've been giving it loads of water. Stupid really sometimes. When one gets, excited about things and busy, one can get overzealous. I think that's what I've done, but that'll be alright, that'll pass. Tea so far, tea plants, member of the camellia family, this here, have been so far a success, and I think that I can now put a recommendation to people that growing tea here in the UK is worth doing, because the plants seem to tolerate the climate just fine. The yuzu still looking a bit leafy curled, but we'll see just how that does. And over here we've got the blood orange, still looking good. I've been covering this with, what I cover it with, the piece of polytunnel miniature greenhouse cover, just like the cover there. And doing well. It's lost a few leaves, but one would expect that anyway. It's looking healthy. So yeah, and I'm going to be getting blood orange crops. They're going to be small, but for a first crop, that's what one would expect. Okay, there we go. So all exciting stuff. I hope everybody out there's doing well. Any comments, questions, or whatevers. If there's anything you'd like me to, to get hold of and grow, just comment down below. I'll always consider it, because as I stated before, I see this channel as yours as much as I do mine. And I'm doing this obviously for myself, but I'm also doing it as experimentation. Seeing what can be grown in a climate such as the UK with a little bit of adaptation and microclimates. I just think that the things that are available now and certain things going on, it could be wise to start expanding our horizons in terms of home and allotment growing or whatever. If you like my work, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to check me out on Instagram, it's Dan_Home Gardens. I appreciate all of the support, all of everything really. Take care and speak soon.